Tristan Tate and Joey Carbstrong just had a debate, I suppose, if you could call it that, more of a discussion. Today, I'm going to give my opinions on some of the things Tristan said and some responses that I hope will be useful to Tristan and maybe some of his followers as well. I really honestly hope to change his mind on a few of these things, but I guess we'll see. We're going to be starting off with the most controversial one. We're going to talk about God and, in his case, Christianity. And I'm also going to finish today's video answering a question that Joey missed. Tristan asked Joey, do you think that animals and humans are equal? He said something along those lines.
Do you think that pigs and cows are as important as people? Do you feel their lives are worth as much as a person's life?
So make sure you stick around for that, and let's get into it.
I myself am an Orthodox Christian. I believe in Jesus Christ. I believe in the word of the Bible. The Bible makes it very, very clear that man has dominion over animals. It tells us which animals we can and which animals we can't eat. I don't understand how any man could argue with a Christian about that. I would say a human is made in the image of God, and a pig is not made in the image of God. Neither is a cow. In fact, cows and pigs are made in the image of what humans made them into. As a religious person, there's no argument you could possibly give me to see any lower life form or any animal besides a human as equal to a human, because animals aren't made in the image of God.
Look, I'm not someone who believes in God. Let's just come out with that right off the bat. But I was raised with Christian values. I celebrate Christmas. I even went to a school that was a Christian school where we sang hymns, went to church a couple times a year. So I'm ripe and prime to become a Christian and believe in God again. Because I don't at the moment, but I did used to. So as a non-believer who has the potential to start believing again, I want to say this. Are you expecting me to believe that a peaceful God would want his subjects, who he created in his own image, to torture, abuse, and kill animals for food and other products that they don't even need? Are you telling me that this peaceful God created humans in his image, then went on to create these complex, feeling, emotional animals that can have family and friends, feel joy and happiness, and also feel extreme sadness, pain, and suffering, a little bit like us? He created these animals just so his chosen ones could breed them, gas them, electrocute them, stab them, shoot them in the head, all for stuff they don't need. Is that really your sales pitch? That doesn't sound like any God I'd want to believe in. And honestly, I can't imagine any peaceful God would want anyone in his image to do that to defenseless animals. I'm not following here. If that's the sales pitch that the meat-eating Christians want to go for, you got to understand that does not sound like the work of a peaceful God. That sounds like the work of the devil. What I think a peaceful God would look like is a God that would want a peaceful world and would want us to be caretakers for these defenseless animals that he's put on the world with us. After all, isn't God the human's caretaker? Our all-loving creator who created us in his image? If we're truly made in his image, shouldn't we also be caretakers for those that are below us? Because as humans, we're a very advanced species, and all these other animals are completely defenseless and hopeless when we decide we want to do horrible things to them. Just like we are completely and utterly hopeless if God decided he wanted to do horrible things to us. So shouldn't we be all loving to his creations and not acting like some kind of violent dictator?
I care very deeply about humanity and other people, but exactly. I don't think that extends to the animal kingdom.
Well, I don't know why you would give a bunch of money to a dog charity if you didn't care about non-human animals.
I love dogs, but if you wanted to eat your dog, I would not have a problem with you eating your dog.
Would you have a problem with me eating a dog from the charity?
Well, that would be my dog. And I'd have a problem with you coming into my garden and eating from my apple tree, even though they're just apples. They're my apples. That tree's in my garden. So when people say, oh, would you have a problem with me eating your dog? Yes, I'd have a problem with you eating my dog. But there are lots of people all over the world that eat dogs all the time. I'm not going to tell them not to, and I don't care what they do with their dogs.
If I was being cruel to a dog in front of you, like say I had a hot iron and I was putting it in their eye and they were squealing and that, you would just feel nothing?
No. If you're working at a dog factory, killing the dog so you can eat it, I would not care, because it's your dog, your farm, your business, your factory, your life. I'm a free market capitalist, and if you're a producer of dog meat, all well and good. If I saw you torturing anything for any reason, I'd say, well, what's the point in that? What's the benefit? Are you providing anyone with a meal? Are you providing anyone with food, sustenance? No, you're just being a dick. So yeah, I would have a go at someone.
Well, let's just say that I have plant-based food available to me. Like, there's plenty of plant-based food available to me. I'm torturing them because it gives
because you want to eat them.
Because I just made the choice to over the plant-based food.
Yes.
I'm deciding I want to torture them to eat them because it's basically just a just a flippant choice.
Yes.
I could eat plant food, but I don't really like it as much. I like torturing animals and eating them.
I mean,
and you wouldn't have an issue with that.
I love vegetables, but I also love eating meat. And that's how free market capitalism works.
This bit gave me libertarian vibes. Libertarians believe in an individual's rights to do whatever they want with their property and their own body without government intervention, as long as it doesn't harm anybody else. I think I'm understanding that correctly. Libertarians, if I got that wrong, let me know in the comments. And I'm on board with it. I think individual liberty is incredibly important. We shouldn't have government overreach and government getting involved in our affairs as long as we're not causing anybody any harm. We should be able to do what we want. That's why I am vegan. Animals fall into that category too. They are individuals. They can't drive a car, build a spaceship, or create some crypto shitcoin, but animals have the bare basic minimum things needed for us to consider them as individuals that are worth considering as more than just resources for us to mess with. They've got sentience and a consciousness like us. And yeah, it's not as advanced as what we have, but it's still there. They have unique personalities, they have families, they have friends, likes, dislikes, they even have enemies. They feel pain and suffer, and they feel joy and happiness. So when we're talking about an individual's liberty and property rights, I think a distinction has to be made between, say, a table and a someone. Because even though it doesn't look like it sometimes, I know some of these animals are a bit wacky, a bit all over the place, but there is a someone inside each of these animals. There is a someone in that chicken, in that pig, in that cow. They're as vulnerable as human children, but unlike human children, they're not human. Which means in our world, which is controlled and run by humans, they get significantly less rights and significantly less consideration for who they are. I think that's a damn good reason to avoid stabbing them and eating their bodies. I think a human in possession of an animal should take the role as their caregiver, not as their killer.
If somebody was raising an animal for food, let's say a chicken, and cut its wings off when it was alive, I honestly wouldn't care that much about the chicken. I'm going to be honest. I'm not going to pretend that I would care. I do think it's unnecessary. I wouldn't do it, but you can't kill something in a non-cruel way. Killing something is always cruel. You have to see cruelty as justifiable if you're going to eat meat. I think cruelty is completely justified, completely, when it comes to getting fed. I think that the shark that could bite me in half is totally justified to bite me in half. The shark committed no moral evil, even if it bit me.
Cruelty is needed for animal products. That's true. It's inevitable. You have to be cruel to get animal products. That's how it works. If you don't believe that animals have any meaningful experience in life, they're just mindless beasts who don't know what's going on and just can be maneuvered, and we can make them do anything we want them to. We can set them off in a field and use dogs to control where they go and when they go there and all this kind of stuff. If this is the belief you hold about animals, that they're just idiots, then it's easy to justify being cruel to them for a burger. But it's not true that they're just mindless beasts with no wants and desires and nothing going on upstairs. It's just they speak a different language. Animals communicate with body language and sounds that we just don't understand. Once you're trained in how they communicate, you see the really intricate signals and communication they have with each other, and you start to understand how they feel about what you're doing to them. A lot of farmers learn the language of their animals. That's why you'll see a lot of farmers find it really hard to go to the slaughterhouse and see these animals being killed. They understand that these animals were individuals and they can't stand to see them being stabbed and shot and everything that happens in a slaughterhouse. But it's their job. So they push on, tell themselves things like it's just the way of the world, it's just the way it is, so they can get over it and keep on doing their work. But it doesn't have to be that way. Things can be different.
Do you think factory farming is bad?
No. I think it's a miracle that we can have 7 billion, 8 billion people on a planet and we can all feed them. And anywhere in the world I go, anywhere on earth I go, if I want a steak or a chicken breast or some eggs, I can get hold of them. I think the food supply chain that humans have built and constructed in order to raise this great civilization is incredible. And I know that involves factory farms. So no, I don't think factory farms are unjustifiable in any way. Are they cruel? Maybe. But I don't care. I think it's an amazing feat of human ingenuity.
This isn't going to go down well with a lot of vegans, but I've got to say here, on some level, I agree with what Tristan is saying. Don't cancel me yet, just listen. If you consider factory farming as just a way of producing products for consumption, then it is an incredible feat of humanity. It's an insane invention. I mean, look at the rate of production it has and look at all the cogs that are turning and how it all works together. It's pretty impressive. If you look at animals as resources like Tristan does, what he's saying makes sense. But when you consider the actual truth of the matter, that animals aren't mindless biological meat, milk, and egg machines. it becomes very, very dark. Factory farming is barns and slaughterhouses packed to the absolute brim with animals that have a similar level of understanding and knowledge of the world as human children in these places, suffering from disease, malnutrition, injuries. And of course, when they leave these places and go to the slaughterhouses, they're getting shot in the head, electrocuted, gassed, and stabbed in the throat. And this isn't to feed the poor and hungry in the world. Most animal products are eaten by the richest people in the world. The richest countries in the world have the highest consumption of animal products. The poorest people in the world have the lowest consumption of animal products. So all of that violence and madness is just to get rich people a burger that they like.
Let me tell you something that humans and animals have in common. It's called the preservation of one's own species. So if you take a piranha, tiny little angry fish with a brain the size of a pea, you put any piece of meat or a human or a horse or a dog or a pig into that pond and it's bleeding, the piranhas are going to rip it apart. But piranhas don't eat other piranhas. No species survives if it does. The preservation of one's own species is more important than the preservation of other species. That's why lions don't hunt and eat other lions. That's why they eat other things. So if you want to talk about traits that we have in common, then I as a human saying, yeah, screw the pig, I'm going to eat him, and I'm not going to kill and eat other humans. There's something that we have in common with every other species. People are talking about raising humans that are, for example, they'll take your DNA code and raise a human without the brain or mind or consciousness or whatever so that you could have access to that human's liver or heart. Humans are humans, and I don't believe that we should be doing that. I believe humans are made in the image of God. And I don't believe if you started a farm raising humans for organs, for organ transplants, which is an area of science that is being explored right now, do I think that's right? No, I don't believe in abortion. I don't believe in harvesting the body parts of babies who are 8 months or 7 months old when they're aborted to take their tissue and their skin and their bone to run human experiments on. No, I think that's all morally evil because humans are humans, or animals are animals, and I'll always have a distinction between them.
There's nothing wrong with putting your own species first. Most people would choose to save another human before they'd save an animal. Whatever, it doesn't matter because you can put humans first while also not abusing other animals. Tristan talks about sharks and piranhas and how both of these animals prefer their own species and they're both ruthless, savage killers. But we're different to a piranha or a shark, aren't we? We can make decisions based on morals, not just based on our instincts. We can make decisions on what's right and wrong. The next thing I want to say, guys, is a bit spicy. And last time I made this kind of comparison, Tristan actually responded and he was pretty pissed about it. Tristan, if you're watching this video, just know that what I'm about to say is meant in good faith. I'm not meaning to liken you to the people that I'm about to talk about. I'm just saying that the arguments that you're using and the arguments that they were using are very, very similar. So I think Tristan's overall attitude to this topic, to the topic of animals and animal rights, is similar to the attitudes and beliefs that people would have had about other groups of humans historically. There are a few examples I could give, but let's just go with women's rights. Can't you imagine people making the exact same arguments that Tristan's been making about women back in the day? I don't care about women. They're property. I'm a free market capitalist. People can do what they want with their own property. It's none of my business. Only men are made in the image of God. So I don't care about women, all right? I put members of my own sex first, always. I really just couldn't care less about women. Men always come first. The point here isn't to make out that Tristan is anything like those people. It's to show that these kinds of arguments have also been used to hurt people as well as animals. Do you really want to sound like one of the people saying that kind of shit? This I don't care attitude towards animals is pretty convenient, isn't it? I mean, it makes life very easy. You don't have to consider animals as worthy of your attention in any way. It means you get to eat burgers and ice creams and steaks as much as you want without feeling guilty. It works out really well because it's harder to care, right? It takes strength to actually face up to the fact that animals deserve this moral consideration. They deserve to be treated kindly. That's tough because that means you have to turn your back on all the things you love and make some changes in your life. And who wants to take the hard road, right? Better just take the easy road because that's what real, strong, courageous people do, isn't it? I'm being sarcastic, but you see my point, right? Tristan and Andrew Tate are very well known for telling people to take the hard road, turn their lives around, face up to the hard things in life and the hardships and become better people. Well, why not do it here as well then? It takes a lot more guts to face up to the fact that animals are individuals that deserve the right to not be abused and killed. And about that question Tristan put to Joey, do you think that a human's life is equal to an animal's life? Let me answer that for myself. No, of course not. But animals are sentient, they have consciousness, they feel pain, they suffer, they feel joy, they feel happiness, and all the things that we value. And that's enough to consider them as more than just a resource to be used and abused as we see fit. You don't need to believe a chicken is equal to a human to not stab a chicken in the throat. So are you going to keep going pretending that animals are just mindless idiots so you can stab them in the throat for burgers? Take the easy way out? Or are you going to take the hard path and push yourself to be a better person? Well, that's up to you. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next one.